Hi everyone and welcome to Turf Talk Down Under. I'm Angie and here today we have Melton from LGB Alliance Australia. Hi Melton.
Hi Angie, how you going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. I've had a lot of input from mainly gay men actually, who are feeling a little bit uncomfortable about the forced teaming between the LGB and the rest of the rainbow acronym. So it's very timely that you're willing to come on Turf Talk Down Under and talk about this because, you know, people are starting to wake up to what's going on here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, you know, can you tell me what LGB Alliance Australia is about and how you came to be here?
Yeah, sure. We're an offshoot from LGB Alliance in the UK. So Kate Harris and Bev Jackson and Alison Bailey and a handful of other people started the UK LGB Alliance as a reaction to, I guess, the forced teaming with the TIQ and how Stonewall weren't really representing the same-sex attracted people in the acronym. And it's become a worldwide movement, basically. We have international meetings and there's people from Estonia and we've got, there's people from the Czech Republic, Ireland, Spain, Italy, you know, most of the Western countries around the world, Canada, US, I think there's Mexican representation. New Zealand's just come on board fairly recently. So it's a worldwide organisation now, and Australia sort of grew out of the UK. I remember when seeing the UK, what they were doing, and I contacted them and said, we really need something like this in Australia because, you know, mainstream LGBTIQ organisations no longer represent same-sex attracted people. And I think it was Bev got back to me and said, definitely we'll be wanting to set something up in Australia. Sorry, that was just my phone going. And so it sort of grew out of that. And there was a small handful of us that got together on once a week. We had a few teething problems initially, but we've set up as an incorporated association, so it's all like proper. And you know, we're all volunteers, so it's taken us a while to get off the ground. It's taken us a good couple of years to get going, but we're at the point now where we can take new membership. We can raise funds and we can do the activist work of basically we existed initially to stand up for the rights of same-sex attracted people, and now it's sort of we realise how much our rights are being eroded, I think, because so much legislation around Australia but also around the world is swapping out sex for gender.
And the conversion bills as well, that, you know,
that's right.
Conversion bills of young same-sex attracted kids being told that they're transgender.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of us older, like I'm in my 50s, I came out in the 1980s to a thriving lesbian community, and I'm a butch lesbian, and I've watched over the intervening years of basically the demise of my people, the demise of of lesbian culture. It's now illegal for us to have a female-only event. We've had to go underground again, basically, and organise things as like a private party if we're wanting women-only space, lesbian-only space. And, you know, we cannot legally, publicly hold a lesbian-only function. It's just can't be done. So we don't actually have any LGBTIQ organisations that I'm aware of standing up for our rights as same-sex attracted people. No. We've been told that we're a right-wing hate group.
I know. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that anti-fascist group or whatever it was called you a hate group.
We're
and
actually
that the
listed as a right-wing, hate group. And you know what? We're all from the left. That's the irony of it. We've all come from the left. We're all disillusioned with the left. And something I've realised, you know, as I've gotten older, is that the far left's as bad as the far right.
Yes.
And this is certainly an example of that, you know.
So, homophobia and misogyny, they're non-partisan, homophobia and misogyny.
Yeah, absolutely right, absolutely. And so, look, you know, in my sort of 50-odd plus years, I've seen the demise of the lesbian community, and I've seen so many young butch women transition. Yeah. I've seen older butch women transition. And, you know, I kind of get that. It's easier to go through the world as a trans man than as a butch lesbian. And I can certainly speak to that from my own experience. People do not like when you, you know, you don't do what's the required sort of thing of your gender.
Yeah.
But I'm still female. I'll always be female. Nothing's going to change that. I'm never going to be a male. And now, you know, I'm at this age, I don't particularly want to be, but when I was a teenager, I certainly did want to be male. But I grew out of it, you know.
Do you want to be male, or do you want to step out of the male gaze?
Well, there's that as well, absolutely, 100%. You want to step out of the male gaze, but you also want the advantage and the privilege of what being male brings you, you know. And then when I worked out that I was actually lesbian, I was fine, you know. Life made sense. But if I was growing up now, I wouldn't have a hope.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have a hope. And
young lesbians describe that. Young lesbians have described to me that people either assume that they are trans or that they pressure them to become trans.
Yeah. Because it is more socially acceptable to be trans than to be lesbian these days. I mean, it's never been easy being lesbian. There's no doubt about it. Or bi, for that matter. But or gay, it's never been easy. There's so much homophobia out there. So look, so we exist to support same-sex attracted people who are attracted to their own sex, not their own gender. And that's another issue that we've found, particularly with younger people, is that they're being forced to, you know, they're being told that they're transphobic if they will not sleep with, say, you know, a male-bodied man who identifies as being a lesbian. And there's been plenty of reports of young lesbian women who are being coerced into sex with male-bodied men with, you know, fully functioning penises, being told that they're transphobic if they won't have sex with them. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence that that's going on. So, look, you know, we're not a right-wing hate group. We certainly have worry about young gay people, gay and lesbian people that may or may not be being converted via the trans thing. A lot of us see that as being, you know, conversion therapy of the gay and lesbian people, particularly with, you know, the medicalisation of young people and what they're doing to them. But, you know, as an organisation, we fully support trans people to live their best lives. We fully support them to have and create their own spaces. And, you know, when I was younger, as a young lesbian, I came out in my teens, you know, gay men would go off and they'd have their you know, saunas and their men's only space, and the lesbians would have their women only space. And we respected each other's need, you know, to have our own space, and we'd come together quite happily in mixed space.
Yeah.
And we don't have that now. There's no respect for our need to have single sex space.
And my experience is that the trans-identified people, the old school transsexuals, were gay men, and that's why they were included in gay men's spaces.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you went to a gay bar in the 80s or 90s, yes, there were trans-identified people there.
Yeah,
and they were at male-dominated establishments.
Yes.
They're at men's establishments.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and that was just accepted because most of them were homosexual men. Yeah. It's only since the audit files came across that have been motivated by watching pornography and decided that because they feel submissive that they're actually women, they're the ones that demanded entry into our spaces.
Yes, and that's where a lot of the lesbians have been particularly hard hit. Because we legally we now have to accept them in our dating spaces. And it's like, well, you know, there's no respect for the need for, you know, a lesbian is a woman who is attracted to someone of the same sex, not someone of the same gender, and, you know, fully acknowledge that the trans women have their own space and do their own thing, and you know, leave the lesbians to do their thing. But
women know that, you know, the majority of men who seek to break our boundaries, like, you know, the men who don't accept the word no, are usually the least likely men that you want in your space. Because
absolutely.
If a man doesn't accept the word no, you're not welcome here. Sorry, it's for women only. If he's the sort of man that doesn't just walk away and say, oh, okay, I accept your decision, he is a dangerous man.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And they're the ones who are causing all these problems, the ones that don't accept the word no.
No, yeah, that's right. And a lot of the old, like, women who are older than me in their like 70s and 80s, they were onto this sort of early on in the piece, you know, as to what was happening. And I think a lot of, in my sort of generation and younger, had no idea what was going on.
No.
So aside from representing same-sex attracted people, we're also, you know, working on you know, like we've put in a submission for various bits of legislation that are being changed for sort of self-ID laws, particularly most recently the Queensland thing. We put in a big submission for that, and we've put in submissions for the New South Wales legislation and WA, I think. And so you know, we're sort of an activist group in that respect, in trying to stand up for sex. But I think another really important part of why we exist is for same-sex attracted people to have a community, because we no longer have, you know, a community that's not been kind of taken over by the larger LGBTIQ plus as it keeps adding to. Our original movement was the movement of gay and lesbian liberation. And we're so far away from that now, it basically doesn't exist anymore. So, you know, I think we've come about to, you know, to recreate our community and have somewhere for people to turn to. And we've recently had a membership drive, and we meet online with, you know, new members. And I just realised how needed we are, because it turned into a bit of a therapy session, you know. So many lesbians, gays and bisexuals were in the meeting, and they were all saying, we've got nowhere to go, you know, you're it.
That's so sad.
It's really sad, it really is. And so there really is a need for us to exist, so that there's somewhere for same-sex attracted people to turn to. And, you know, we've got kind of big ambitions in terms of, you know, we want to start some social events, online social events for, you know, men only, women only kind of social events. You know, start a service whereby, you know, people of any age who are questioning their sexuality can come and, you know, have somewhere to go, even if it is only online, you know. because we are a national organisation, you know, we need to.
Yeah, so, and what the it translates well from the UK to Australia, because, you know, our version of Stonewall is ACON, the AIDS Council of New South Wales.
Yes.
Our version of mermaids is -18.
Yes.
And it translates very well to Australia, but Australia's a very different continent because we're also geographically dispersed, unlike the UK.
That's right. So yeah, we're so far apart.
Yeah, you bringing people together from any part of Australia is wonderful, because as a young woman who grew up in a country town and got the shit kicked out of me for holding another woman's hand, or because the man that I was standing with looked effeminate and we had to, you know, kiss with tongues to prove that he wasn't gay.
Oh, wow.
Growing up in that kind of environment, which young people still do, because those sort of places are still there, but now they're in the city. Right? Those places are there. You know, the fact that you can bring those people in and say, we do understand, you know, if you are same-sex attracted, you are welcome here.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the LGBT orgs aren't doing that. They're centering heterosexual people and people like fucking furries and asexuals. And, you know, and what the hell does queer mean?
Exactly.
Queer. If you're a young woman and you're told you're queer and you look up queer, there could be any man, you know, of any gender identity who also calls himself
queer.
So where's the identification in that? There isn't any. There's no identification. So this woman sitting there going, why is everyone else who's queer, why are they all, you know, like men, or why are they all attracted to men? Yeah. And I'm here as a young woman attracted to women. If they don't have that identification within the big acronym community. So you stripping it back to lesbian, bisexual, and gay, and giving them a place to go is amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, it's so needed, you know, it really is. It's so needed. And oh, no, sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I've got a mate who I was a bit worried about turfing out on my Facebook because he's a gay man, and I thought, you know, it can be quite confronting for gay men who are not really into the politics, who are, you know, just living their life, to, you know, be around us turfs, basically. And I was a bit worried about how he perceived some of my ranty Facebook posts. And anyway, he sends me a message and said, Angie, I'm glad you posted some of this stuff, because that's increasingly how I'm feeling. You know, he's HIV positive, right? Yeah. And his health has been great since he found out that he was HIV positive, right up until middle age, when some of us, you know, I know for me as a postmenopausal woman, my health is not as great as it was beforehand. And anyone who's immunocompromised, as they age and normal health conditions come in, their health becomes, you know, a little bit more tenuous. Anyway, he messaged me and said that he used to get offers of support from all these, you know, from ACON and other HIV charities. And now he's, you know, on a disability pension, and feeling isolated and dependent on the NDIS. And these charities are nowhere to be seen.
Oh, wow.
They are all focused on the other end of the acronym.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, because he used to have like a group of men who met with him regularly to keep him connected to the community.
Right.
You know, all those sort of small things that these charities used to provide.
Right. And that's all slipped away.
They've directed it to other things because they're no longer dealing with looking after men with a medical condition.
Yeah.
Now they are opening the doors to everyone. So of course their resources are going to be misdirected.
Right.
So, you know, that was a turning point. That was a real turning point for me, because if men like him are thinking something's up and they're slipping through the cracks, this is really bad.
Yeah, it really is.
People we promised in the 80s and 90s that we were going to protect them because they have lived through hell.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
they are now men in their 50s, 60s and 70s who the community has abandoned.
Yes,
So
yeah, and that's why, I mean, blue sky thinking, we're going to have to take over that role, because there really is nothing left for the LGB in a lot of instances. Sad as that is, but that's just what's happened. I never have envisaged anything like this ever happening. No. It's astonishing. It really is. Yeah.
And especially with the marriage, I mean, the referendum on same-sex marriage was freaking horrendous.
Yeah.
But the fact that everyone, the majority of Australians have said, of course, if they want to get married, they're silly enough to get married, of course they can.
Yeah.
That was such a turning point.
Yeah.
And yet, 5 minutes later, same-sex attracted people are being demonized, not just by every government agency and organisation in the community, but by supposedly their own community.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Oh no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And we've been told that we're a right-wing hate group and horrendous accusations, pointed at us. But it's like, why can't, and this is, sort of a thing that keeps going around in my head, why can't there be an LGB focused organisation when there's trans only focused organisations?
Yes.
we've got different needs. And again, fully support the trans people doing their own thing and having their own organisations and communities and whatnot. Why can't the LGB? Why are we being told that we're a right-wing hate group when really we're just standing up for our rights as same-sex attracted people and creating our own community again?
Yep. The woman who tried to kick me out of a mother's group, the non-binary woman who tried to kick me out of a mother's group, had already been kicked out of the local non-binary mothers group. So there are these other agencies, all the money being thrown towards the other end of the acronym. Everywhere you look, there's a trans support group showing up. They have domestic violence services. They have rape crisis. They have all of the crisis services specifically for trans identified people already there now, because they've received so much money and so much support, but they don't want that. They want to take away single sex services.
Services and spaces. That's right.
And
we run on nothing. We have no government funding. We rely on donations from generous people. We don't have, tax exemption status. We've seen what happened to the English mothership. What's happened with them and their tax exemption status. So we're not really in a position to go down that road at the moment, I don't think. So, we really rely on the generosity of our members, and our members are amazing, Ange. I cannot tell you.
Well, they are really... I'm a member, and your membership is quite affordable too.
Well, we wanted to make it affordable, and we've got members from all stratas of society. We've got barristers, we've got lawyers, we've got doctors, we've got psychiatrists. We've got people that know what's going on, with young gay and lesbian kids. And they all want to make a difference. They really do. Yeah. And we've got, loads of gay, lesbian and bisexual people. And we've actually got quite a number of heterosexual supporters as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who've got, friends or family who have been affected by this, and they want to support us. It's great.
And it's a good old straight chick. Sal Grover is working on her female-only dating app at the moment.
Hoo-hoo.
So,
Happy days. I'll join that quite happily.
Yeah, well, there's that's I think it's going to be amazing. So
Yeah.
she will have the only female-only
Female-only
dating app that I know of.
Right.
So
Wow.
in Australia, definitely, but possibly even in the world.
In the world. Yeah, right.
And she felt so strongly that, that space needed to be provided. So
yeah.
Her,
yeah, good for her. Absolutely. Yeah. So
there's hope.
There's hope. Yeah.
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 The lengths we have to go to, I find that in domestic violence, like we've had to go back underground, like you guys have had to go underground with dating and just meeting up socially. Like it's ridiculous. We've gone back 30 years. Now it's lucky for the younger people coming up that some of us are old enough to remember how the second wavers did it and how, women that were still in the closet actually did all this grassroots stuff 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. And what a lot of younger people don't realise is we had a thriving community.
Yeah.
You could go out in Melbourne any night of the week and there'd be a lesbian something on. We had bookshops, we had cafes, we had bars, we had pool nights, balls. There was even a lesbian-run sex shop, And it's all gone. All of it, all gone. It's just, and we now organise underground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're no better off than we were in the, 40s or 50s or even before, really, in terms of our communities had to go underground. Yeah.
And we don't have the resources to fight it through the courts either. Nobody has the amount of money that is needed to take it to the High Court.
Yeah, that's right.
Fight the single-sex spaces.
Yeah. And, we're accused of being discriminatory. Well, yes, actually we are discriminatory because lesbians aren't into blokes and gay men aren't into women. Yeah. That goes with the territory. We are discriminatory. And, some forms of discrimination aren't bad.
I fully support that kind of discrimination.
Yeah.
It's not even really discrimination, is it?
Yeah. It's just being able to, would you often, there's been swimming nights for Islamic women. Yeah. For female-only Islamic women. Well, yes, they're being discriminatory, but I think they have a right to be. It's a different form, and it's about respecting that need for single-sex space, and then we come together in mixed space. Yeah, there's it just
it should be a choice.
It should be. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So look, we're doing a lot of work, and watch this space. We're hoping to do some really good stuff.
Yeah, and you've got a few legends on board. Most of the people that are anonymous for good reason, because if you're saying that you're a member of a group that the mainstream media has labelled a right-wing hate group,
absolutely,
then you really don't want to go, hey,
look
but
at me.
You've got some really interesting and highly sort of skilled people on board.
Absolutely, we have.
And
we really have.
Very, very funny people on Twitter representing your organisation as well.
Yeah, and smart. There's a lot of smart people that have joined us. Yeah, very smart people. So
I'm just so relieved that you're there. I just think what a great about this movement is, I've been trapped in suburbia for 20 years, and except for my two neighbours over the side there, which are the two Jennies, Jenny and Jenny. Apart from them, I'm in like a sort of 40 club heteronormative echo chamber here.
Right.
And one of the things about coming out as a public TERF is it's brought back all my, LGB homies. It's brought me back into the company of people that I really, I somewhat prefer their company a lot of the time than mixed space.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been one of the wonderful benefits, and that this is it. A lot of us have felt lost for a long time for a variety of reasons. And although it's been an awful thing to have our rights stripped away and to have to come together and fight to claw them back again,
Yeah.
the people you meet along the way make it worth
Oh,
it.
make it worth it.
Really
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've
does.
met some incredible people through this
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
And you've given, young people a lifeline. You really have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much needed. And I'm so glad
Much
that
needed.
the UK model actually translates so well to Australia too.
Look, I'm in awe. I'm absolutely in awe of Kate and Bev and Alison and what they've done.
Too.
Yeah, I think they're incredible women. They really are. I mean, we're
Yeah.
standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say, really.
Yeah, and you are giants too over here. But did you watch the LGB Alliance conferences? Because I did.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'd love to go one day.
Oh, well, I think Australia will become so big that you'll have your own.
That's a possibility, actually. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Come over and speak at our conference.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Oh, man. So what's next for LGB Alliance Australia?
We're going to have another intake of volunteers, and I really want to get off the ground, some social events happening. I know the American chapter, they have a regular online book group. So yeah, something of some sort of social thing that people can join, and we'll keep plugging away at the politicians, and keep supporting same-sex attracted people, basically. So we've got our website. People can reach out to us via the website and our social media.
Yeah, you're on both Twitter and Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we are, because we are a volunteer-run organisation, we may not get back to you in 5 seconds. It might take a day or two, but we will get there.
Are you going to get one of those little scan things going, and maybe some stickers so that people can scan what it's all about?
That's a good idea. Hadn't thought of that.
Oh.
We're working on some merch, like T-shirts and whatnot at the moment.
Yeah. Because whenever I see the progress flag, I like to whack the old rainbow flag over the top.
Over the top, right.
Yeah. And so it'd be really good to just have the old rainbow flag with a little, barcode that shoots over to the LGB Alliance page. I reckon that's
a great idea.
Yeah, because I'm already walking around with the rainbow stickers and just whacking them over the progress flag. So
look, we don't, we're not against the progress flag existing. No. We're just like that the rainbow keeps getting, erased from the flag. And we were thinking of running a Reclaim the Rainbow sort of campaign, actually, because I know a lot of people who were proud to march under the rainbow flag no longer want to, for what it represents, and we've recently written a piece on our website about the history of the rainbow flag, and how, we've basically documented how much it's changed in the last sort of 5 or 10 years, and how it no longer represents LGB people. It doesn't. It really doesn't. So we were talking about a Reclaim the Rainbow sort of campaign at some point. Yeah.
So do you think that you're just going to have to sort of start over again and be sort of a grassroots organisation that grows? Do you think you sort of, have to go back like it was in the 80s?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. And start again, basically. And say, look, we acknowledge that the TIQ are sort of a movement into themselves, and we acknowledge that there's conflict, and we acknowledge that, you have a right to exist, but we want to exist separately from you because we don't agree with you.
Completely and that's concept.
That's fine for you to do what you want to do, but we don't want to be taken along.
Yes.
Some of us don't want to be taken along. We don't agree with what you're doing to kids. We don't agree with medicalisation of gender dysphoria. We see it as kind of conversion therapy of young gay and lesbian kids, because let's face it, the gay and lesbian are the original gender benders, you know.
Yeah.
We're the ones who've done it, and what they're doing is medicalising what we've traditionally done and just lived with.
Yes.
And we don't all agree with that.
No.
But again, if you want to do it, you go for your life, but we want to reclaim our rainbow.
And you can't coexist, because, you know, I watched Mardi Gras from my hotel room in Brisbane in March last year, and I listened to them apologise to the transgender community for using the word same-sex attraction.
Truly.
So that proves, and then one of the other presenters misgendered Ellen Page and had to write out like a massive apology. And, you know, and so it's clear for me that you cannot coexist, not only because you're opposing concepts in sexuality and gender identity, but because they have made your own community inhospitable to our gay and lesbian
people. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're not welcome in our own community anymore, which is why we need to start again, basically. And LGB Alliance is we're it, basically. We are the only organisation that's standing up for same-sex attracted people. Yeah.
Well,
so
I'm going to DM this episode to all my gay friends who have been wonderfully quiet and non-committal, but have still hung in there on my Facebook.
Right.
Because I think a few of them are like closet heading towards turfery. So
right.
So
this
is it. It has really pushed people back into the closet.
Oh, absolutely.
But now it's the closet of, you know, not wanting to be dragged into the other end of the acronym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And not having our own space, not legally being able to, you know, socialise in our own, say, single-sex spaces. It's an absolute crying shame.
I'm a woman, and I'd never dream of, you know, going to a lesbian event and demanding that you let me in just because I'm female. And I'm bloody female, but it's a lesbian event.
Yes,
you know, it's for women who are exclusively attracted to other women. You know, gay men shouldn't be wanting to go. Bisexual people shouldn't be wanting to go unless they're invited. And certainly not heterosexual trans-identified men. They're the last people that should be invited in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man. Just madness. Sometimes I wake up and I go, is this actually happening? Or, you know, like, it's just so surreal. I thought we got beyond this 30 years ago.
No. Well, I would have thought that too, but I've basically sat back and watched the decimation of particularly the lesbian community, because that's what I'm a part of. Lesbian and bisexual women, because we certainly have bisexual women as part of the lesbian community. I don't want to, you know, not acknowledge that, because, well, I've had bisexual partners, and they're a big part of our community, bisexual women. So, and I think for gay men, bisexual men are big part of their community as well. They come and go, but I just couldn't sit back and not do something, particularly as an older lesbian. And knowing how hard it is for young people to come out, you know, there needs to be somewhere that they can go.
Yeah.
Oh,
thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So if you want to support LGB Alliance Australia, join up, become a member. You know, allies are welcome. Cheap. So it is cheap. It's affordable. I think I paid $25 for a yearly membership, which is, you know what, 5 cups of coffee.
Yeah, something. I think it's $20 for fully waged people, and $15 for partly waged, and $5 for those on a pension.
So, you know, it's worth doing. It's worth supporting. This is, you know, so important. And you can get in touch with Melton and everybody else over there via Facebook, via Twitter or via the website.
Our website, LGB Alliance.
They won't be able to cancel. Yeah, they won't be able to cancel your website.
Yeah.
Have you been banned on Twitter or Facebook yet for being?
Not so far. No, not so.
Yes.
But because we mainly post stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
And as I said, we're not an anti-trans group.
No.
We acknowledge that there are issues, but we certainly support trans people we support trans people doing their own thing, letting us do our thing.
Yeah, same here at Turf Talk Down Under, would you believe? Even though we've got turf in our title, we don't hate trans people at all. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's but we do acknowledge that there are issues, and we acknowledge that we need representation for the LGB.
Yeah, good on you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Melton, for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having us, Ange.
Yeah, and keep us informed. Like, we've had some of the girls from LGB Alliance New Zealand on before.
New Zealand, yeah, that's right. I saw that.
And so keep us informed if you've got anything that you'd like us to put out there for you as well. Just let us know, because we know we've got a lot of gay, lesbian, and bisexual people who watch this channel. So
yeah, that's lovely. That's great. All right, thanks, Ange.
Thank you so much. And thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. And if you want to support this channel, please like, subscribe and share. And we'll catch you next week. Thank you.
Thanks.